Okay, let's get back to some work here. We're going to do another video on perfect competition. All right, now let's look at where we left off. We showed here that the total revenue curve was a constant slope because every time we changed output by 1, the cost or the price went up by the same amount. So total revenue was increasing by the same amount as I increased output by 1. Then we'll look at is the total revenue, total cost approach. So we look at columns 4 and 5, right? And then we look at column 6, which is the difference between is column 5, total revenue minus total cost, gives us these amounts here, where we get down to, at 9 units, right, we have a plus 7. If we did 8 units, we'd be at a plus 6. And if we did 10 units, we'd be at a plus 6. So why would we stop at 8 and why would we go past 9? So 7 is the total revenue approach. Now graphically, let's put in the total revenue curve again. Again, slope is constant. Then we're going to add the total cost curve, which we had on the chart. All right, we're going to see a couple of points here. Right here, cost is greater than revenue. So these are all losses up here. Then they intersect the TR curve. So now we're at break even. Okay, and then this whole period here is profit. You see the profit's a little smaller, it gets bigger, gets bigger, gets bigger, and then smaller. And then we're at break even again. At the bottom, we just have a graph showing total economic profit at each one of these points. And you can see that it hits its peak at 9. But we'll add a couple other things in here. So we have our total cost curve, total economic profit, the 2 break-even points. Then we shade in that area, which is economic profit, and the maximum profit is $7, and it's at 9 units, and it can also be seen down here. Okay, well, so that's one method to find the maximum profit. Right? The method that we're going to use the rest of the year is the MR equals MC approach. So this is the key to microeconomics. Marginal revenue must be equal to marginal cost without marginal cost being greater. So what we do is we have these columns here and we match them up. Okay, right here, we start here, we have 5 and 5, 5 and 4, and you notice marginal revenue is consistently greater than marginal cost, and the economic loss is dropping. And we keep doing this, and then here, we're at 0, right? We're breaking even. Do one more, we'll be at a plus 1, and then we do one more here, we're at a plus 2. If I was to do the 10th unit, marginal cost would be 6, marginal revenue would be 5, we would not do the 10th unit because we'd be at plus 1. Again, why stop at 8 and why go to 10? So we go to where marginal revenue is equal to or without marginal cost being greater. So you always want to have marginal revenue greater than or equal to marginal cost. All right? Now let's look at this graph again for a second. What do we have here? We have the slope of total revenue is constant, which we know is 5, because that's the price, and it's in perfectly elastic demand, so price and MR are equal. But if we look here, we also notice here the slope of total cost is equal to the slope of total revenue. And where do we get the slope of total cost from? Well, the slope of any total curve is its marginal, right? The derivative. So we go here and we have MR is equal to MC. And that's where the gap is the biggest when the slopes are equal. Right? That's another way to look at it. So there are 3 questions we should be asking ourselves, or a firm should be asking themselves. Should they produce? If so, what amount? And what is the economic profit or loss will be realized? Well, let's look at a first example. First thing we'll do is we'll draw our MR curve, right? MRPARD, Mr. Part. Then we're going to draw our marginal cost curve. Okay, and we notice here that MR is equal to MC at 9 units. Right? MC equal to MR at the 9. So you go 5 times 9 gives us this area, and this area here is my total revenue. Okay, So my total revenue is this whole box, 5 times 9. If you want to put it down, it's $45. All right, now we've gotten the revenue part. Let's go look at our cost part. All right, so we go to MR equals MC again, right? And we're at 9, but we're going to go straight up from 9 till we hit the average cost curve. When we hit the average cost curve, we go across to find out the average cost per unit at 9 units is $2. At 4, it's a little higher than 2. At 3, it's as high as 5. Okay, but at 9 units, which is what we're reducing because MR equals MC at 9, we're paying $2. That's our total cost. So this area in red is the total cost. All right, but that's not the only graphs we have. Okay, we go back to MR equals MC. Then we put the AVC curve, right? And that's that area. And again, we're working off of 9 because that's the profit maximizing output. Anything greater than 9 will cause us to lose money, to make less profit, and anything less will cause us to have less profit. 9 is the profit maximizing output. So here we have our total variable cost. Now, put it all back together. There's my ATC curve. There's my AVC curve. The gap between the two of those curves is my total fixed cost. So let's take one more graph. Right? That's my total cost. There's my average variable cost. So there's my total cost. Part of that total cost is the gap between the two, which is fixed. And then the other part, which is variable, we take the variable and the fixed and we get total cost. That's this area here. All right? Now, we've been missing this space here, but we'll get to that. There's my total revenue that we talked about in the graph earlier. That's this whole area. 5 times 9 is 45. But we had cost. So we have to give up some of that revenue, $2 per unit, which is 18. So my total cost is $18, which means I'm left here with $27, right? 45, so I'm getting 9 times 5 is my total revenue, minus 2 times 9, which is 18. 45 minus 18 gives me 27. That's my economic profit. And you can see that here. Whoops. This is the area left. This is the area of total revenue left after I paid this part down here in my cost. So this is the economic profit for the firm. It's the area above ATC and below the MR. That space there is your economic profit. So in this case, the firm would produce, they would produce 9 units, and they would make an economic profit of $27. If you wanted to do it the other way, just to double check yourself, take your average, take your price, which is 5, subtract it from your average total cost. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So your profit per unit is 3. You're making 9 units. 3 times 9 is 27. That is your profit, economic profit, because the economist has already included the entrepreneur's opportunity cost into their total cost, right? So that's the first one we want to talk about. Now you notice I didn't add over here the market, but we know the market gave us the 5. If something changes over on the left-hand side where the market is, then that will influence the MR, and we will get to that at a later date. All right, so let's leave it there, and we'll talk about this tomorrow in class.